You mentioned acting. You mentioned being on Martin. When was the transition from singing to the acting?
I've always
Yeah.
wanted to act before I wanted to sing.
Okay.
People don't even know that. I was
Okay.
in drama in high school. Shout out to Susan Story, my other mother, Scottish woman who came into the hood, taught a bunch of, black kids how to act. The reason why I went to college was because, theater scholarship that she helped me get. So acting has always been a passion. I always knew I was going to do that.
Yeah. So how did that, what was the first role? What was the first opportunity?
So I don't even remember what I think the role that most people will remember is Martin.
The Martin one.
Yeah, I had a small role in Living Out Loud.
Okay.
With Queen Latifah and Danny DeVito, at the end of it with Holly Hunter.
Okay.
Hello. On the stoop. I was the girl on the stoop. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, Martin was the biggest thing.
Okay.
And then after that, I think it was Sister Sister and a bunch of other stuff came up.
Living Single.
Living Single.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Martin role. You would it was like you were auditioning.
Yes.
For him.
Pam's cousin.
Yeah.
Alicia.
Yeah. And shout out to my producer Warren. We were in our research game. We rewatched it and we were talking about it. Was that like a possible pilot for a spinoff?
I would like to think so. I think if I stayed in LA, I would have probably done a lot more acting and television stuff. They were great to me. Kyle Bentley Evers, Martin, Tisha, Tashina, Carl, everybody. Tommy, rest in peace. They were awesome, but I think it was just a guest role. It was a very popular episode to this day.
Yeah.
But I think it was just a guest
and
role.
he was like your manager or something, right? And it was a whole record label thing.
And Tracy Morgan, everybody was crazy. Yeah.
So, and then you were also involved with some plays, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, break that down.
Yes. So Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
I was the original Vera Brown, you shot, and Meet the Browns. The actual performances and the shows, after I got through a certain part of it, was the most fun I ever had in my life.
Okay.
David and Tamela Mann, some of the best leadership that I've experienced. Really great people. So that was just a fun role.
Okay.
And still cool with just everybody from the cast of Meet the Browns.
What was this? You said the certain part. Like, what do you?
Well, I mean, if you work for Tyler. If you have worked for Tyler, then it's just let me be respectful and honest. That's the thing.
Speak objectively.
Objectively.
Yeah.
How about we speak the truth?
Okay, go ahead.
How about we speak the truth?
I'm in the truth.
And I mean zero disrespect.
Yeah.
In this regard.
Yeah.
But everybody done got bit by the Cat Williams bug. Lord Jesus. So when I did Meet the Browns, first of all, getting the role, I didn't go in for the role of Vera Brown, right?
Okay.
I went in for the role of like Malay, I think the daughter or something, right? And it's beautiful because how it happened, Monifa, Demetria McKitty, and I were in like this play in Dothan, Alabama, and nobody showed up. This is a testimony for people just performing regardless, because nobody showed up for this play. It's probably a 2,000-seater. It might have been 40 people in the audience.
Okay.
So the promoter was like, look, we're not going to even be able to pay y'all. You decide whether or not you want to come and do this. You don't have an obligation, but we're here, whatever. Mm-hmm. We performed the show. Tyler was one of those 40 people in the audience.
Okay, wow.
And he came backstage and he was like, you're amazing. I'm doing a play. I would love for you to consider a role. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Right.
So he hired me and Demetria, both.
Okay, yeah.
And Kim, another person who was in the play. And I was originally supposed to play another role, and he said, you know what, I want to see you as Vera. Now, originally, Vera was just like an older woman who was, crying at the funeral because of her father, super religious, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I decided to decorate the character a little bit.
Okay.
And,
Improv,
when you get a
as
role,
you
know what I mean? I'm
make
like,
it yours.
let me just, right.
Yeah.
So I remembered like certain women that I met growing up, and I'm like, I'm going to make her an alcoholic. She's Brown's sister. Mm-hmm. So she's Brown's sister. She just can't. She either has to be the polar opposite of Brown, like super prim and proper, or that's what she get it from her brother. Right. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
So if you know Mr. Brown, he is just a riot. So I made her funny. I made her a smart ass. I made her alcoholic. I made her very physical with the legs shaking and you shop and just bordering on Step and Fetch It, right? Bordering on it, but more physical comedy. I thought of it more like Carol Burnett, who I'm a huge fan
Got
of.
you.
Right?
Yeah.
So Tyler was at rehearsal and was like, so what, she's an alcoholic now? And I was like, well, not really an alcoholic, I just thought. And he like looked at me like, and I was like, okay, he was, keep it, let's see if it works. I was like, okay. But he was on my the whole time. Okay. So much so that I think the night before we opened up, there was a rehearsal. And like, I was getting notes from the director, because Tyler wasn't in this play, but he's involved in everything. And I would be getting notes. And he was just like, he came to one of the dress rehearsals before we opened up. And he said, I'm just going to tell y'all now, he was in the audience, it was a voice from the sky, some of y'all going home. Some of y'all might not make it to, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the night before the show. And he was like, Vera, and I was like, oh my God, I'm about to get fired. So it just knocked me off my square, because I'm like, I was doing too much. I should have reeled it in.
Okay.
Whatever. So the director came to me, and I don't think I've ever said this publicly. The director, David, everybody who was in there, like, look, you've been killing it in rehearsal. Don't just do what you do. If you're gonna lose if you're gonna not have a job after opening night, then at least you made the right decision and did whatever, right? So I'm literally standing backstage thinking to myself, do I go out here and like pull it in and be more like TV actor? Yeah. Do I, what do I do? And as soon as that hit the line right before mine to come in there, I'm like, okay. And I just go out there and I'm like, I'm going all out Detroit style, old ladies, whatever. And the audience lost it from like the first few words.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I listened to God, the people around me who were, and then it still didn't stop there, because, like, we're deep in the show in New York, and he came in the dressing room and like closed the door, and I was like, he about to fire me. I'm about to get fired. And I was like, and it was right before show again, and he was like, I need to talk to you. And I was like, oh God. And he was like, I said, well, if I'm gonna get fired, can we do it like after the show? Because I still got to go out here and be funny. And I'm thinking I'm killing it, because the reviews are in, people are, Yeah. And he was like, no, I need to talk to you. So he closed the door. And then he started saying, if you want your career to be better, and like starts to give me the speech or whatever. And then I'm like, tears welling up a little bit. And I'm like, see, you're about to make me cry right before I go on stage. So I need to, he was like, I went to open the door. He's like, listen, he's like, treat your career better. If you want to go farther, then there are things, something, I don't even remember. It was kind of a blur. So then that was that. And then the very last, when we taped the DVD, he called me out, which is on the DVD.
Yeah.
At the end of the DVD, he like told the whole audience, like, I almost got rid of her. And I was standing there like, okay, let me just come here. So it was like, it was a compliment at the same time that it was like, okay, but like, you just told the whole world that you like.
Do you feel like it was that moment though? Like, would you have pushed yourself to like kind of be in that fateful moment to do your very best? Do you think it was that moment, or
I did what I was doing in rehearsal. I did what like the director and everything, because like I said, he'd be in and out. So like we would go, we would rehearse, and then he'd come in to see what we've done, right? So it was like the director and everybody else was like, no, we all felt great about it.
Yeah.
I did what I did in rehearsal on that stage every night for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And that worked. I think if I had let what he said get into my head more, then I think I would have probably gotten fired.
Okay. So it was more of the willpower
to just walk in. This is my gift. You hired me for a reason. You stopped me in the other play to say X, Y, and Z, and my instincts and David and Tam, like we're all the audience is saying this is working.
Okay. Yeah.
It was, the audience is saying my perspective is working. The audience is saying my approach to the character is working.
Yeah. What do you think like led to like that?
Him calling me out on stage at the end? I think maybe he just wanted people to know he almost fired me. And like, isn't she doing good? I almost fired her.
How does that? I'm trying to think. Does that make that make sense?
I mean, I can't think about what I can't. I'm like, I don't know why he. I'm saying I know that I did a great job in the show because I would look at the website and see the reviews, and people would be like, Vera.
Yeah.
I wasn't perfect in the. I mean, there may be an actress who could have done it better. I did my version of Vera Brown. I made her alcoholic. I picked out the purple wig. Me and Miss Maria, who's done wardrobe for him for years, picked out those crazy ass clothes.
Yeah.
And it all worked.
Yeah.
I think for what it was one of the most successful shows that he had done. So why at the end of it he said to the people that I almost didn't make it and I was the person he was going to fire? Maybe he thought of it like, I'm complimenting you because you almost didn't get it.
That was his form of complimenting.
I guess. I was like, oh shit. He's just called me out and it's there. Like, in hindsight, like, cause somebody was like, yeah, Tyler almost didn't work with you. Like one of my little cousins who loves the show. And I'm like, no, I guess that's what he said. You know what I mean? So then I have to kind of live with the tag that, I worked my ass off and did what I thought was a great job in a character. And, there are some people who misinterpret or have their own. Maybe it's not a misinterpretation. Everything is left up to your own interpretation.
Right.
Some people might have thought like he pointed you out to say that you were great. Like I would have preferred him to say, hey, wasn't she amazing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whatever, if you were going to call me out.
Right.
And not say you almost fired me. Because then I have to explain, you know what I mean? It looks kind of whatever, but whatever.
So when did Nicci Gilbert decide to, get on the other side of the camera?
While I was working with him.
So it was at that point?
It was working with Tyler on Meet the Browns. Lucia, who works with him, and that's the other thing, like, the promoters who promoted Meet the Browns, who still work with him, I've worked with him for years. I've done some really good business and good shows with them. So it definitely wasn't, I didn't leave a bad impression with those people, right? You know what I mean? Who are his exclusive folks, right?
Yeah.
But it was when I realized how successful his show had become, Meet the Browns, and I looked out in the theater at the Airy Crown in Chicago, and we sold out 8 shows, and it's a 5,000 seat venue, and it was crazy. And I was like, okay, I'm on the wrong side of the business. And I was, as a writer, I finished writing Soul Kittens Cabaret.
Yes.
And his team, Arthur, I'm sorry, I don't need to say their names, but his people were like, hey, let's get behind this. And they started immediately working with me to help me do what he was able to do.
And then, so talk about that, you started producing.
Yes.
Directing as well?
Yes.
Okay. Is this the evolution of Worth Media?
Well, Worth had not started at that point. I hadn't really fully grasped how to build the production company. And I was from the artist side, right?
Yeah.
So I hustled Soul Kittens Cabaret for years.
Yeah.
And then I called Selena Johnson, and I called Monifa, and I called Angie Stone, and I called Faith, and I called like all of my girlfriends, right? And Dee Dee, who was in Meet the Browns with me. And I was like, yo, come to Detroit. I'm doing this play. I'm doing a workshop for it. So we did the play, and we documented the behind the scenes of the workshop. Like we documented rehearsals and all this other stuff. And I was like, oh, this is a TV show. So that became R&B Divas. So I put Soul Kittens on ice a little bit.
Yeah.
So because R&B Divas was in media. And at that point, I didn't know the importance of ownership. I didn't understand ownership and licensing in TV.
Yeah.
Because nobody taught me.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I wish that I had learned from Tyler, but I wasn't really interacting with him. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But had I known those things, then it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But we're here, so it's good. I don't live with regret. So that became R&B Divas, and then the R&B Divas thing became an issue because in my opinion, culturally incompetent white male lens decided that they were going to, have more power and control over a show that I created than me and Faith, who was my producer partner. And that turned bad after 2 seasons for us.
Talk to me about that. Like, what do you mean? You mean from like when you took it to the network, or like what was it?
So what happened?
I'm getting like mirrored things like from the music business.
Yeah.
It's like this same. So I like these gems that you're dropping right now.
Yeah, just not knowing. They don't teach you business in this business.
Yeah.
They teach you how to get on that stage, put your lipstick on,
right?
And be pretty.
Yeah. Do that dance. Hit that dance.
hit that dance.
Yeah.
So my husband and I actually, like, I flew everybody down. Thank God, I'm like, honey, we need to use your credit cards. But we got everybody down. We shot sizzle reel. We shot a bunch of content. Monifa, Selena, Angie. Tweet was in some of the original content. Everybody, right? Reached out to Little Mo, all of the divas. Kelly, I reached out to everyone, right? Hey guys, we're going to shoot this reality series. Come to Atlanta. So we shot, put all this stuff together. So Faith was like, hey, I'm managed by this guy, Phil Thornton. And he knows some folks in the TV space, whatever. And I was like, oh, if he's your manager, then he's cool. He knows some people on the TV. I'll work with him. So initially, I didn't really want to give him the power to kind of speak on our behalf without us being present. And I actually said that to Faye. And she was like, you know, I trust that he's got our back.
Okay, the contracts and the paperwork was...
There was no contract or paperwork. There was just an agreement to shop it, right?
Okay.
So he went and shopped it. We set up a meeting. We went to a company, Think Factory Media. Think Factory was like, listen, we love this concept. We love you and Faith. We want a positive show. I was like, there'll be drama because, you know, I'm rebuilding my career. We're all rebuilding our careers. There'll be stuff. But what we were promised in that meeting and what we saw in some episodes of season 1, but slowly started to trickle away, was us slowly losing any control over the narrative, right? So all the women on the show that it was based on were basically given the boot. And it was Phil and his partner and Think Factory that were running the show with the network. And we didn't understand at the time that this basically meant we had no control over what the end result was, and we couldn't control somebody telling somebody that you don't like them and you sitting up across from them and wondering what the attitude change is about, not knowing that, you know, they've been manipulated from the network. Angie's been really, all of us at this point have been really vocal about how that happened. I've even got emails to prove that there was a very intentional effort for me and Selena Johnson to not be cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an accident. You know how like you accidentally copy somebody in an email that was for other people?
Yeah.
And I accidentally got an email that basically made it clear that it was never meant for me and Selena Johnson to be cool.
Wow.
Or to work out our issues. We got an opportunity to get invited to Iyamla after season 1 before anybody did it, to sit down and really talk through some of the issues, because I really wanted to do that. We were really good friends before this show, all of us.
Yeah.
And now maybe 2 or 3 of us are still cool.
Based upon the actions that took place with this show.
And not just me and Selena, like it's across the board. Women who really loved and respected each other from the R&B Divas franchise don't even talk.
Wow.
LA, Atlanta, all seasons of each.
Wow.
Trendsetter.